Senator Flake, how are you preparing for the upcoming confirmation hearings for Judge Gorsuch?
Hearings are on the 20th, so we're getting ready. One, I want him to talk about some of the things he talked about in my office. The difference between being a legislator and being a judge. He mentioned that when he puts on the robe, he realizes he's not a legislator. And that's important. I want my colleagues to hear that.
Can you talk about those office visits? What do you learn about in those office visits that you don't necessarily learn about in a hearing format?
Well, I don't think any of us had met him before. I certainly hadn't. I'd read some of his opinions, but just to put a face to those opinions is good, and to talk about his background and his family. That's important to know. And so that's what the office visits are about. You don't dive deep into policy. You'll ask questions in the hearing that you want him to answer, or you'll submit questions for the record. But that's more getting to know the man and getting to know his family.
And then, so what are the hearings for? You talk about diving more into the policy.
Well, that's when you try to understand his philosophy. How will he judge? What opinions has he written before? What cases has he seen? That will affect how he judges on the Supreme Court. And so he has a long record. Obviously, there's a lot to look at. I've been very impressed when I've read some of what he's written. So I think that that's what a hearing is about, to delve into both his experience and his record.
Is there one case or one opinion in particular that's interested you, or you want to ask him about?
Yeah, he talked about the end-of-life decisions, for example, and those are very difficult decisions for a family. The right to die, and also euthanasia, those kind of things. And he's written very, very movingly about that subject. And you can tell that he has a keen mind, and he thinks very deeply about these things. And I think in a way that is reflective of what most Americans think as well. In that way, he seems to be a mainstream judge. But obviously, we like the fact that as a conservative, he believes that judges should read the original meaning into the text and not try to infer what the founders or others might have been thinking, but what the words actually say.
And this is your first Supreme Court confirmation hearing?
It is.
Have you sought any advice or gotten any advice from some of your more veteran colleagues?
Well, yeah, my senior senator from Arizona has been through a few. Senator McCain, not on the Judiciary Committee, but certainly he's been through a lot of these confirmations, and so I'll talk to him. But Senator Kyle, my predecessor, I've talked to him already and met with him about not just this vacancy, but vacancies that occur on the district courts and on the circuit courts.
And what's his advice? What's his philosophy when you approach these?
We have similar philosophies on this. One, you're not going to expect the nominee to talk about cases that might come before the court. That would not be appropriate if those are working their way through the system. But to explain his philosophy and how he comes about making decisions, that's what's important.
Senator Flake, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You can watch